All right. It's a great day in South Florida. My name is Chris Igo, and it is beautiful out. Wow, it's sunny, bright, blue skies. This is why everyone wants to live in South Florida. Now, I don't know what you may have heard, but I don't have any skeletons in my closet. But I do have skeletons in my front yard. So we are hyped up and ready for Halloween. Hope we get a lot of trick-or-treaters. But I'm about to share with you something that absolutely shocked me, something I have not experienced yet in my real estate career. But you need to know about it because it's happening right now in the housing market. So buckle up, we're going for a ride, and let's go. Boom! Boom, we're live. Very recently, I received a phone call from some homeowners in Delray Beach that are interested in selling their home. It turns out that they're under contract on new construction in northern Florida, and it's super sunny, so I'm putting on my sunglasses. We met. I was able to lay eyes on the property and see if it's something we believed we can get them multiple offers on and sell fast, find them the one buyer on planet Earth willing to pay more than anybody else. And to be totally transparent, when I looked at the property from the last listing that was in the MLS, I was not impressed. And I was very concerned when I told them the truth about where I thought the home should be listed based on the condition of what I thought the home was actually in. But I was blown away when I actually went to the property and saw what they had done with it. Now, as many of you know, in addition to being a YouTube content creator, I am a boots on the ground operator of a high performance real estate team. And while we service all of South Florida, primarily we specialize in South Palm Beach County. So Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, Boca Raton, Wellington, that's really our wheelhouse. And so I know that this home in Delray Beach, although it is in an older neighborhood, is going to be in high demand. And yes, I'm fully aware that interest rates have gone through the roof. But as of the making of this video, they've actually backed down a little bit, and now we're closer to 7% as opposed to 8%. But I also know that as we trend into November and as the Fed meets and as inflation numbers come out and as the election happens, there's going to be a lot of volatility in the market. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I believe that interest rates are going to continue to go higher. And I would not be shocked at all if at some point in the near future, and if not by year's end, then very likely within the first quarter of 2023, we're looking at something close to 10% interest rates. And so affordability is absolutely an issue on everybody's mind right now as it relates to whether they're going to buy a home or not. And interest rates and interest rate sensitivity are absolutely impacting the demand that exists right now for buyers that are in the market. And you've got Zillow out there, and you've got Redfin out there, and you've got all kinds of different content creators out there that are talking about the housing market crash and every possible bad outcome that could ever happen. And one thing that I absolutely have to be mindful of is the fact that the perception becomes the reality in most people's minds. But the perception doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. I remain committed to telling you the truth as I see it in real time in my market so that you can go out there, have the best information to make the best decisions for yourself, for your family, and for your financial bottom line. So when I'm consulting with a homeowner who's thinking about selling their home, I have to tell them not what they want to hear. I have to tell them the truth about their home value. And I have to tell them the truth about what's happening in the housing market. And what most people don't understand when I'm having a consultation with them is that I'm interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing me. And if their perception does not line up with my reality, then chances are we're probably not going to work together. And I'm fully aware that there are 90,000 other agents in my market between Palm Beach and Broward County that are willing to say whatever the buyer or seller wants to hear in order to get their business. And I'm fine with that because the truth is, if we don't line up with our expectations and the reality of what's actually happening in the market, then I know for certain what will eventually happen is that home buyer or that home seller is not going to get what they want. And the odds are exceptionally high that they will grow very frustrated, very tired, and very angry with whoever it is they chose to work with. And at some point in the near future, I will receive a phone call from whoever that person was and actually get them the result that they want. But the truth is, and Redfin will confirm, that in the Delray Beach housing market, sales have dropped 20% in September. which does not mean to say that the Delray Beach housing market is crashing. In fact, the average sales price in Delray Beach increased by 9.7%. And because interest rates are so high, cash buyers have increased exponentially. But the truth is, there are plenty of people from around the country and around the world, specifically New York, specifically California. Those are the biggest inbound metros that are migrating to South Florida, specifically South Palm Beach County and Delray Beach. And while it is also factually true that the buyer pool has shrinked because prices and interest rates have gone up so much, it's also factually true that there are a lot of buyers that are out there shopping, and they've got way more choices, way more options, but they want what they want when they want it. And so while the perception might be that the housing market is a dumpster fire, the truth is, at least as of right now, as I'm making this video, we're really just returning to a more balanced, more neutral market. So getting back to this house, and I'm going to pop in some video to showcase how exceptional this particular house is, because honestly, I've never seen anything like this at this price point. I mean, this house is incredible. It's sitting on a half an acre, which is totally private, totally fenced in. It's as if you're in your own private tropical oasis. The backyard is macked out so magnificently, it's as if you're in a botanical garden. But getting back to business, they're under contract on new construction. They need to sell their house. They need to move. And so we did all the things that we do when we take a new listing. We priced it the right way and did all of the things that we do in the background. And truthfully, we do spend a small fortune ensuring that we get our homes directly in front of shoppers who are looking for that type of home. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that the home sellers weren't a little bit afraid. And maybe that's the wrong word. I'll use concern instead. I'd be lying if I said that they aren't concerned about all of the things that everybody's concerned about. But nonetheless, we listed the property, and within the first 24 hours, we had 10 showings. Now, I can tell you as a real estate professional, the thing that I am most interested in when I list the home, to know whether we're priced the right way or not, is how many showings do we get in a week? And the number I'm looking for is 3 to 5 showings. And to be clear, what I mean by that is I mean 3 to 5 qualified buyers that actually go to the property because they want to buy it. I could care less about any of the vanity metrics that are out there on Zillow or Redfin or any other portal that's out there, because nobody cares about how many views it got. Nobody cares about how many saves it got. Nobody cares about any of those internet statistics. Are total garbage. They mean nothing. The only thing that matters is how many people actually come to see the property, that are prepared to buy it. But the fact that we had 10 showings in 24 hours is a bullish indicator that we are on the right track. And so I was not at all surprised when I received the phone call at 7 p.m. on our first day of being listed from an agent who had some questions. What I was not expecting to have happen is for him to put me on the phone with the prospective buyer, because that almost never happens. But it was obvious to me that the agent that was doing the showing is relatively new, and so I welcomed the opportunity to speak directly to the buyer. And so we did, and he asked some questions about the property, about the condition, and he asked some questions about what the seller might want. And so of course I answered all of his questions, and then things got interesting. And what he started to do was negotiate with me. And he started sharing with me what the housing market dynamics are. And he proceeded to inform me how bad the housing market is, and how high interest rates are, and how almost nobody could afford to buy this home, and how his lowball cash offer was absolutely the best offer we would get, and we should absolutely take it. And that's where perception versus the reality comes into play, because his perception and my reality were way off. And so I humored him and let him tell me all about what he believes the housing market is right now and what the demand is for this particular home. I then was able to share with him the reality of what the demand for this home is, and the fact that we had 10 showings in less than 24 hours, which, full disclosure, is highly unusual in the market right now. Because truthfully, homes are sitting on the market longer. And truthfully, most new listings don't get 10 showings in 24 hours. And I could absolutely feel the wind coming out of his sails as I shared with him the truth, which is he doesn't have the leverage that he thinks he does. But of course we want to do a deal with him, so I encouraged him to write up whatever contract he wants to write up, because until we've got a contract, really all we have is a bunch of hot air and conversation. And so I always want to encourage anyone to write a contract if they're interested in the home. And I don't believe there's any such thing as a lowball offer. It's simply the start of a negotiation. And sure enough, as expected, we did receive a cash offer from him. And so from my perspective and for my home seller's perspective, this was fantastic. Because in spite of all the fear and uncertainty of what the housing market might be, we had 10 showings and a cash offer in less than 24 hours. And while the offer wasn't full list, it also wasn't lowball, it was competitive. And because this house is so unique in the fact that it has so much land and it is so exceptional, and homes in that particular subdivision almost never go for sale, we were able to negotiate a price very close to list. And so we verbally agreed on what the counter terms would be. He didn't sign it instantly, which isn't necessarily unusual in a normal market, but relative to what the market was like in the frenzy, it was a little bit unusual. But I had a suspicion that we would be back at the negotiating table soon because I knew how strongly he held to his beliefs about what the market is. And although we had verbally agreed, until the contract is executed, we don't have anything. And my suspicion was confirmed the following day when I got a phone call from the other broker who, in his own words, said his buyer is crazy and is making a mistake. And he changed his terms to now a lowball cash offer. Now, to be clear, I hate the term lowball, and the truth is, there's no such thing. The price of a home is always going to be determined by whatever a buyer is willing to pay. So my opinion of what the sales price should be, nobody cares. The homeowner's opinion about what the price should be, nobody cares. Nobody cares what the Zestimate or Redfin's estimate or what any other real estate portal says the sales price should be. The sales price of a home will always be determined by what a buyer is willing to pay. But what this particular buyer miscalculated on is that we've got a full weekend of scheduled showings. And so for now, this buyer is on pause. But I know if he wants this home, he'll be back. And in the interim, the risk that he runs is that someone else will buy the home. And truthfully, if he comes back, I'd love to do a deal with him. But I suspect that he's going to have to get his teeth kicked in by the market reality, which will absolutely burst his current perception bubble. And so I share this story not to brag about the deal that got away. I share it to educate and inform. The truth is, there is still demand on the right homes, priced the right way, in the right location. And while there are plenty of people out there that are talking about what the worst case scenarios might look like at some point in the future, and I'm aware at some point in the future, if the pain of recession becomes sufficient enough to cause forced sales, well then of course the pricing is going to be different. But for today, right now, in spite of all the bad news that's out there, and in spite of all the affordability issues that do exist, and interest rates that are now 7%, people are buying homes. And to be totally transparent, this is not a sales pitch. I read the comments and I see what you say. And there are some people out there that have this perception that I'm this greedy realtor who's desperate for a commission, who's going to try to create some type of fear of missing out. Well, I can squeeze one last deal out of you. And I can honestly say those are the dumbest comments I ever read, because nothing could be further from the truth. The first step in my onboarding process when speaking to somebody thinking about buying a home is getting granular in terms of their financial status and ensuring they understand and have total clarity as to what they're doing. Because the last thing I want is somebody to buy a home that they can't afford or that doesn't check all the boxes of what's right for them. Not what's right for me, what's right for them. And the truth is, and I probably will do some video here with former clients, that I've talked out of buying homes because it didn't line up with what they said they wanted. The last thing I ever want anybody to feel is buyer's remorse. The last thing I ever want anybody to feel is house poor. The only thing I'm ever concerned with in representing a buyer is they get their dream home, dream lifestyle, and the best price possible, with terms they fully understand and are thrilled about. And if all of those boxes aren't checked, and if all of those items aren't in alignment for what's right for them, I talk them out of it. Now, I noticed 90% of you who watch these videos have yet to subscribe. I hope you found this content valuable, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and if you really found it valuable, share it with a friend. I also noticed that most of you who watch this content are not local in my market. If you are looking for a real estate or mortgage professional that we know, like, and trust, that can serve and support you at the highest level, irrespective of where you're at, please opt in for a referral and we will get you set up right away. And if you've got any questions or concerns, leave them in the comments down below and I will answer them as soon as I can. And most importantly, check out my next video because I suspect you'll love it a lot. And until next time, peace!